This is the highest technology. Your supercomputer is also a small outcome, a drop out of this one. Life should be a constant process of exploration, only then there is science. You're forgetting that you're playing your whole game on a particular stage, which is not your making. I would say the future of industry and business should go in this direction. There must be human potential business. Namaskaram, Nivruti.
Namaskar, Sadhguruji.
Is it okay if we start this tech summit with a 1-minute chant?
Yes, I would love it.
Because the greatest piece of technology that I have access to is just this one, so let me get it to a picture.
I would love it.
Jananam sukadham maranam karunam milanam maduram smaranam karunam kalavashyadiha sakalam karunam samayadipate akilam karunam. Namaskar.
That was beautiful, Sadhguruji. Such a beautiful start. Namaskaram.
Now the thing is, one thing in all these technological developments, we've forgotten the greatest piece of technology, which took millions of years for nature to manufacture, is sitting here. Human mechanism is the most supreme technology we have, and we have no education system where how to access this technology, how to keep this technology in its highest prime. But we're doing various other things, that is also important, external technologies. But if we want to really produce technologies which are significant for next few generations of people, it's most important that we access this technology because this is the supercomputer here. I'm saying this has micro compress processors which nobody can match. I'm not trying to depreciate your company, but this is made by creation.
Very, very true, Sadhguruji. Like you're saying, it took millions and millions of years to get the smartness into the living beings. And you very correctly say the computers today can be equated to the earthworm's mind as compared to the human mind. So the evolution, like you say, is so worthy. So namaskara, Sadhguruji, and welcome to the Bengaluru Tech Summit. I'm very honored that I got a chance to talk to you. Nimmundige matanadu tirudu nana bhagya.
ಕನ್ನಡ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ಆದ್ರೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಾಗೆ ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡ ಕತ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ನನಗೂ ಕನ್ನಡ ಕುಂಟುತ್ತೆ ಈಗ, ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಇಲ್ದೇನೆ ನನ್ನ ಕನ್ನಡ ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕುಂಟುತ್ತೆ.
To me, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡ.
That's wonderful, you're making the attempt.
Sadhguruji, the one question that I wanted to start with, it is a beautiful confluence of technology and spirituality. You're called the mystic, but let me start with a more basic question.
No, let me correct the question. From a very high-level technology, which is the human being, to, you said earthworm-like microprocessor you're doing.
Yes.
So two technologies.
Very, very true. So that's how evolved you are in terms of, your inner technology. But Sadhguruji, the first question is a more basic question. Today, the world is facing the pandemic, and a lot of us are living in fear, are living in anxiety, living in pain. What are some of the things that you could suggest very simple things that people could do every day to basically get the balance of mind and peace of mind?
Well, it's a unfortunate reality that there is a pandemic, all right? Over 1 million people have lost their lives, and many people have lost those who were dear to them. And how they lost them is also very significant. When they lost their parents, some of them even their spouse or their children, they couldn't be there. They could not even attend the funerals. Forget about tending to them, they could not even attend to the funerals. This could leave a huge scar in their minds for a lifetime, because that's not easy to handle. People die, that's a different matter, all of us die. But at least you are there taking care, doing something that you believe, if not for them, at least you believe, because of your attendance, you feel some relief in that whole process. That relief is missing, so definitely a certain level of stress and anxiety building up. And as you know, there is economic losses and there are structural changes in our life. See, in the last 40 years, 39 to 40 years, I had never slept at home for more than 8 to 10 days. Now I'm sleeping on the same pillow for 4 months, 5 months, which I've never done. It's a welcome change for me, but it's a huge structural change. That means all the programs, all the events, all the schedules, everything called off. Well, at the same time, technology already had solutions, but we were refusing to use it. Pandemic is forcing us to use the technology. See, you and me are doing fine right now. You're in Bengaluru, I'm in Tennessee, but we're doing fine. Well, it would be a different thing to meet personally, but this is good. What is the point of technology, developing it and not using it? Having said that, well, the concerns of health are there. One thing is your fundamental concern of your own health and well-being and life. Another thing is the concern of your family and friends and people that matter to you. And the concern of loss of incomes, loss of business, closure of businesses, loss of employment, and structural changes in the society. You're not able to meet people, you're not able to attend to things that you had taken for granted. Simply, you want something, you just walked out on the street and bought what you want or met who you want, that's gone. So, these structural changes are actually impacting people much more than various other things. So, one important thing is personal concern about our own health, which is also an important aspect, because only if we are alive, all the other concerns are relevant to us. One thing is to enhance the immunity. Immune system can be greatly activated by doing certain simple processes. Right now, millions of people, particularly medical professionals, are doing these practices which we taught online. It's called Simha Kriya, which brings your immune system up very quickly. This is one thing we must do, because staying alive is a fundamental responsibility right now. And keeping people around us also alive is also equally important responsibility. The next thing is the mental situation. Staying physically alive is paramount. Next thing is your mental situation, because staying alive should not become a torturous process. Right now it is becoming like that, and the number of suicides are increasing. WHO is talking about suicide pandemic may unfold. So that is really, if the virus didn't get you, you're doing it to yourself, that is a terrible thing to happen in the world. But unfortunately, humanity is moving in that way. What is it that human beings suffer if you look at this? One thing is, if physically we get sick, physical suffering will happen. But that is a small percentage. The real suffering is mental suffering. Mental suffering essentially means you suffer your own intelligence. If you had the brain of an earthworm, because you brought the earthworm in, if you had the brain of an earthworm, you would be quite peaceful. Now there is a cerebral possibility in you which is not comparable to any other creature on this planet, another level of cerebral activity. This is the greatest boon we have, this is what sets us up as human beings, but this is what most human beings suffer, because they are not able to handle their own cerebral capabilities. If they had half the brain that they have, they would be quite peaceful. With a full brain, they're struggling. But you tell me, because you are in the processor, which is in a way trying to manufacture intelligence, all right, in some way. Intelligence essentially means right now for people, this is not my definition, but in people's experience, a certain amount of memory and an imaginative way of using that memory is considered intelligence by most people, which is what the artificial intelligence is also going in that direction. Your entire computing system is going in that direction. There is a data, imaginative use of that data is intelligence. That's what people understand as intelligence. No, that is just intellectual process. There are other dimensions of intelligence which does not depend upon data, that's a different matter, we will look at that if there is time. So for this, the simplest thing is, you have only two kinds of suffering, physical suffering, mental suffering. There is no other form of suffering. There is a simple process, once again millions and millions of people across the world are doing this. This is called as Isha Kriya. A simple process with which you bring a little bit of space between you and your body, little bit of space between you and your mind. What does little bit of space mean? See, right now, this clothing, this is loose. So always I'm conscious that this is my clothing. Suppose I was wearing skin-tight nylon clothing. After some time, I wouldn't know which is my skin, which is my clothing. It is so. If it's something doesn't leave any space, you think you are that after some time. So, right now what you call as my body is an accumulation which you gathered over a period of time. What you call as my mind is also accumulation of impressions that you gathered over a period of time. If you create a little bit of space between you and your body, between you and your mind, this is the end of suffering. Only when there is no fear of suffering will a human being walk full stride. Whether pandemic or no pandemic, this is something that everybody must do, that you have no fear of suffering because your life is a limited amount of time. Only miserable people think it's very long. If you're joyful and well, even if you live for 100 years, it's too little. One who is… see, on a particular day, if you're very happy, you notice 24 hours pass off like a moment. If you're miserable, 24 hours feels like a eon, all right? So, time is a very relative experience. If you keep yourself well, 100 years is just nothing, it'll just get over like a few days in your life. So, this is very important that one is free from the fear of suffering, because only then you can walk full stride, otherwise entire life will be half steps. Human genius, human competence, human capability has been severely crippled because the fear of suffering. And unfortunately, the religious forces, moralistic forces, ethical forces have always been trying to manage humanity with fear. You don't do this, you will go to hell. You don't do this, we will punish you. You don't do this, we will beat you. This has caused fear. Right from childhood, even a kindergarten child, people are managing, even an infant, they're showing stick and saying, if you don't do this, you will get this, all right? So, when fear has been the basic way of managing humanity, you have crippled the humanity. Human genius will not flow. Only now, I would say, not even 1% of human beings get to unfold their capabilities and genius to some extent. 99% is fear-based.
Very true, very beautifully said, Sadhguruji. I will go to my next question. Since this summit is based on technology, so we have seen over the last so many centuries a lot of life-changing, world-changing technology developments. So I'll just name a few. Automotive industry started in 1900s. In 10 years, 80% of New York City had cars. If you look at, internet is supposed to be a curse and a boon, but in 1983 is when internet really started, and now we seem to not be able to live without internet. Now, as we speak, artificial intelligence is being looked at a technology for population scale, looked at for various solutions that human beings can imagine at very large scale. Now, if we look at technologies like AI, I believe that they need to be built on foundation of ethics. But can we build a framework for AI that leverages from spirituality, that leverages from ethics? I wanted to hear your viewpoint on how do you think we can leverage the knowledge that we have, the spiritual knowledge that we have, the compilation of a lot of moral and ethical needs into solutions that AI could develop. So you just wanted to hear your viewpoint, Sadhguruji.
If I can make a little correction on that question, if it's allowed.
Absolutely.
Because spiritual process is not morality. Spirituality is not morality. Spirituality is not a bundle of ethics. Spirituality is not commandments, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. Because morality is relevant only if you've lost your humanity. If your humanity is overflowing, why do you need morality? See, I don't need morality to be good to you. My humanity will always stand by me. When we are human beings, why are we not allowing our humanity to reverberate? We suppress our humanity and then try to superimpose a morality which is supposed to fix us. You fix any kind of moral, any kind of ethic, people will find ways to subvert it. People will find ways. If you have not learned that in these thousands of years, that you still believe moral and ethical foundations will fix everything, it will not. People will find ways. So what is the solution? Definitely technologies are advancing like we had not seen in the past, but at the same time, as I already mentioned to you in a conversation, the highest technology on the planet is this one, human mechanism. What evolution means is, from an amoeba, from a single-celled creature, which itself was a great happening, from elements that were there, single-celled creature, from there it has come to this place of this level of complexity, sophistication and competence. This is the highest technology. Every other technology that you are doing, your supercomputer is also a small outcome, a drop out of this one, isn't it?
Very true.
So when you have this technology, why is it we have not even given users' manuals to our children and to ourselves? We still don't know how to use this. This has become a big mess. Right now, human beings are only suffering their own intelligence, their own competence. If they were an amoeba, did you have to teach them how to meditate? I'm asking. They would be just fine, isn't it? So unfortunately, human intelligence has been left unused, mishandled and turned against ourselves in so many different ways. Now we are going for technologies. Whatever the technology, the important thing is who handles it, right? The impact of the technology upon the world is not determined by technology alone, who handles it. Just something as wonderful as a phone, cell phone, okay? We are a classic example as a generation of people because half our lives or more than half our lives, we did not have such an instrument. Suddenly this thing came, initially we didn't figure what it is. Once we realized what it is, we grabbed it, all right? There's another generation which has been born into a cell phone, or maybe they came out of a cell phone, I don't know, because it looks like that, because they keep looking right there all the time. But we know how significant a difference it's made in our lives, this simple instrument. Otherwise, I used to make these calls. There was a time I'm driving across India when I'm building Isha Foundation, I'm talking about 35, 40 years ago. Now I have a call day. When I'm driving on the highway, I'll always be looking for one of those blue-colored half grill and half metal thing, which would be hot as hell. To make a call, I will look for something where there are not people and other things, then I stop. Once in 15 days, 20 days is my call day. Those days I don't have a telephone book or anything. 700, 800 numbers and names, I remember, the pin codes and the works, international, national, everything. So I go there. First thing is, I'll give 5,000 rupees to that guy. He's surprised because normally calls are 20, 30 rupees. Here I give him 5,000, I say, just keep it. Then I go into call, my calls go on 4 to 6 hours. Then other people come, they want to make their short calls. They're all screaming from outside, but that guy manages them because I've already paid advance to him. He's a big customer I am suddenly So once in 15, 20 days, I make all these calls. By the time I'm finished, my forefinger is almost falling off. Tar, dialing that. Today, if I'm driving or even on a motorcycle, if I just say the name, my phone calls.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking inside my helmet, I'm talking and riding all over the place. Oh, I know what the benefit is, but people are dying out of cell phones. Taking selfies, they're dying. Talking on the phone, they're walking under the bus. All kinds of things they're doing. So I'm saying technology by itself is agnostic. It has no quality of its own. Who uses it, for what purposes we use it. But till now, the history of technology has been such, always the cutting-edge technology always went into the military hands first. Military usage is first. After we have figured out how we can kill people with this technology, then we will figure out how to save lives, how to do good to the world. This has been our history till now. Last 100 years, if you look back and see, all this happened this way. This we must change. If this we have to change, this is not going to happen with morality, because morality is very identity-based. See, now I'm an Indian, I can use technology to kill somebody that India doesn't like. Now I'm an American, I can use this technology to kill somebody who's not an American or who I perceive as against America. So I'm saying your morals, ethics, values are all very identity-based. This is why spiritual process is significant, because spirituality means your experience of life has transcended your physical nature.
Correct.
Your physical identity of my body is my first physical identity. Then comes my family, my community, my nation, my race, my religion, variety of caste, creed, whatever else. Isn't these identities, even if I have a simple stick, I will use it against those who are against my community, against my nation, against my race, religion, whatever. If I have a knife, I will use that. If I have a computer, I will use that. If I have a bomb, I will use that. If I have the greatest piece of technology, artificial intelligence, whatever, I will use that, because this is identity-based. Our intelligence, everything functions around our identity. So what needs to happen in the world is, this limited identity must go. We had this well established in our country, which we killed it with British education. Before starting education process in India, there was a process where we made sure the child stands up and says, Aham Brahmasmi. This means my identity is cosmic.
Yes.
Because education is seen as empowerment. If you empower a person who has limited identity, he is a disaster for the world. He may have good intentions, but his good intentions will be limited to his community, his nation, his race, his religion, like this. It is important we raise human beings in a way where our identity is cosmic in nature, at least global in nature. Only if this happens, that genuinely, right from childhood, you came up in a way, seeing that you are a global citizen or a cosmic citizen, you see that you are a part of this and everything is actually a part of you, only then this will happen. This is what spiritual process means, that your experience of life is one with everything. The word yoga distinctly defines this. Unfortunately, people think yoga means twisting and turning. The word yoga means union. That is, in your experience, you experienced everything as yourself. I mean, this is not some rocket science, this is so simple. See, if you're breathing, is it very difficult to understand that when you breathe, one part of your breathing apparatus are here, but the entire atmospheric bubble is your lung. Without it, you cannot breathe, isn't it? One is pumping in, one is pumping out, in and out, but without this bubble, can you breathe? So at least if you identify with your entire portion of your breath, you would be one with everything. We started a whole movement called Project Green Hands with this. When I saw the Tamil Nadu was moving towards desertification, I just made people sit under a tree. and put them through a certain spiritual process where what you exhale, trees are inhaling, what trees exhale, you are inhaling. Once they experience this, you can't stop them from planting trees. They understood one half of our lungs are hanging out there. Today, out of this simple project that we started 20 years ago or 22 years ago now, over 38 million living trees they have created. They've changed the landscape of Tamil Nadu. Of all the places in the world, southern India, the green cover has increased significantly in the last 15 years. 11% increase according to Google Maps, 7.2% according to the government gazette, that green cover has increased simply because people experienced. So this is what spiritual process means. I need to experience you in some way as a part of myself. Then no morality needed, no ethic needed. This looks like a long shot. Oh, is this going to happen? Well, nothing is going to happen if you don't strive. It's as simple as that. See, about in United States, right now I'm here. For example, 150 years ago, 97% of the population was illiterate. Today, everybody can read and write. Why? Because they created the infrastructure of schoolroom, created the infrastructure of teachers, isn't it? If we don't do that, there will be no happening. There are many countries which are still illiterate. Why? Because there's no infrastructure. Similarly, to turn inward, to experience the deeper dimensions of our lives, there is no infrastructure. This is what we are trying to build. We have the largest meditation hall in Western Hemisphere here in United States. In India also we have facilities, but that's not enough for the population. As there are schoolrooms, as there are hospitals, as there are toilets, is it not necessary something for your inner well-being should be everywhere? But today, this has become possible much more because of technology. Today we are reaching out, I'm saying we as one organization, we're reaching out to more than 1 billion people in a year. This was never possible before. Many great beings have come on this planet, but when they spoke, 10 people could not hear them. When they spoke, hardly 10, 25 people will listen to them, and we do not know in how many ways they'll misinterpret them. Today, because of technology, see, I am sitting on this part of the world, you are sitting there, we are talking, we can address every human being on the planet. At this time, when we have such technologies, if we don't strive to transform human beings, that means we don't care.
I completely agree with you. What beautiful explanation. And if I were to just summarize into one line, I would feel that, what you're saying